welcome. You're watching Best of the Bets. My name's Christina Nicolaides and we're looking at Sunday's FA Cup action. We're looking at the European games and we do have one Premier League game to feature. I have our regular guests with me. I have Gareth Walker, who's our bookie extraordinaire, that is. I'll get told off if I don't mention extraordinaire. And Sam Dymond, who's our football expert and editor of bestofthebets.com. Right, we are starting with Manchester City versus Leeds.
Manchester City are 1.15, the draw 7.8, and Leeds available at a whopping 16.2 if you fancy this to be the big upset of the round.
Well, do Leeds stand a chance? They've got good cup pedigree. We saw that when they beat Tottenham in the last round. And of course it's only 3 years ago since they went to the other side of Manchester and won 1-0 at Old Trafford as a League One team. But I can't see them upsetting Man City here. Their recent away form in the Championship has been poor. They've lost 5 and drawn 1 of the last 6 on the road. And Man City fallen pretty much out the title race now. They're 12 points behind. It would be amazing if they actually made that up.
So do you think it's more important for them?
Well, it's pretty much their only chance of silverware. So yes. And at home, they're usually pretty dominant. They've scored in all 18 home games this season in all competitions. And they beat, in my view, a superior Championship side in Watford in round 3, quite convincingly 3-0. So I'd be looking at a very similar scoreline here. I'd go 3-0 Manchester City.
3-0, which is priced at 6.4. Leeds, not a lot going for them, really. As you just look at their form since they beat Spurs, lost to Cardiff, conceded a last-minute equaliser to Wolves, 2-1 to Man City is 9.2. Or I think, as I've looked at Leeds games before, Leeds to get off to a flyer and start well. So if Leeds lead at half-time, but then Manchester City come back and win the match, that's available at 21, that half-time turnaround, which is actually what happened in their League Cup match against Chelsea. That just springs to mind. And
I quite like that. They'll take a huge support there, so you think their fans will be behind them right from the start. You can see them getting off to...
Yeah, you know, if they can somehow get off to a start, you'd imagine City's class will tell in the end. So yeah, that turnaround priced at 21.
Right, we're going to go now to Mike Holden and find out what he thinks is the tie of the round.
The Huddersfield v Wigan game on Sunday's interesting in so much that Wigan didn't know their opposition until Tuesday, when Huddersfield went away and won the replay at Leicester, much to many people's surprise. I think this is high potential to be a low-scoring game, and under 2.5 goals would be the way to approach this one, I would think. Wigan, away from home in these cup matches, just look to play on the counter-attack. Martinez might make changes for the game, but the approach will be the same. And, even at non-league Macclesfield, it was a case of putting men behind the ball, soaking up pressure and looking to pick off on the break. And they only won that game in the last round 1-0. Likewise, the round before, they went to Bournemouth in a replay and only won that 1-0. The home game against Bournemouth was 1-1. They played a 0-0 with Bradford in the Capital One Cup. So there's lots of previous there for low-scoring games involving Wigan in cup matches against lower division opposition.
Ignoring Man U, ignoring Chelsea, going with the big one at Huddersfield. Huddersfield against Wigan, the under 2.5 goals that he mentioned is available at odds against, actually. It's 2.05, so if there's 0, 1 or 2 goals in the match, then that bet will be a winner. And you can see why he's gone for that, the couple of 1-0 victories that Wigan have had. A repeat of that is priced at 8.8. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
OK, and we've got other ties happening, including Manchester United versus Reading.
After pretty much putting out a full-strength team in Madrid and against Everton in the league, I think we will see a number of changes here. So we've said it before, when we know there are going to be changes in games like this, maybe it's a chance to look at some other options in terms of the goal scorer market. And when you do that, do you have to really look any further than Javier Hernandez, who time and time again comes in and gets on the target? I like him here as a first goal scorer.
4.8, which you might think, well, that's a bit short, but then when you think about it, well, he's going to be the main striker for a United team that are surely almost certain to score the first goal. So yeah, 4.8. Yeah,
he scored twice against Fulham in the last round, take his tally to 14 for the season. So he always looks impressive.
Yeah. And then when you look at Reading, they've only lost twice this year, so they're on a good run of form as well.
Well, the Reading first 11 have only lost twice this year, but you can, the cup is going to be a distraction.
Reading have got a huge home game just five days later against Wigan in the league, and they'll be much more concerned with that than this FA Cup game. So I think they'll make changes. Hernandez, definitely.
United at 1.25, the draw 6.5, Reading at 11, but I can't get any enthusiasm for the upset there, I'm afraid.
OK, we've got one more game to go, but it is a fourth round replay. It is Chelsea versus Brentford at the Bridge.
The delayed replay, Chelsea 1.15, the draw 8.6, Brentford 17, and the big prize for the winner of this is a trip to Middlesbrough, which I can heartily recommend. Chelsea should win this, but I mean they're just such an odd team. This clean sheets, this failure to keep any clean sheets, they've kept 2 in 2013 from 11 games, and that's got to be a worry. Brentford, I really think, are a class act. Their eye has really gone off the ball in the league in January, and from being real contenders for the League One title, I think now they'll just be hoping to get an automatic promotion place. It's a real interesting 7-horse race there. I think they're the best team of the 7, but their win against Stevenage in the week was the first win they'd had for a month. I think that I wouldn't rule out a surprise here, but I think that Chelsea should just have too much class. 2-1 to Chelsea is priced at 9.5. For those perhaps looking to play Chelsea, but 1.15 is real sort of big hitters territory. But if you put the 3 home teams, Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea, all together in a treble, you get 1.65, which is a much more appealing way of doing that, and I'm sure will be a very popular bet this weekend.
OK, we're going to move on to Liverpool versus Swansea. Liverpool against West Brom, 19 shots on goal.
Yeah, but none of them went in, did they?
What was notable was just how flat Anfield was on Monday night. A ground sort of renowned for apparently its big match atmosphere. And that's just exactly the kind of environment that Liverpool have really struggled at home in the last couple of seasons that we mentioned about previously.
Swansea, if they didn't have the Capital One Cup final the week after, I think there'd be a real case for backing them. You've got to always think, well, what's on the horizon? Will they be 100% focused on the game? And I can't be 100% confident that there won't be some minds wandering to
I know what you mean. There's always kind of two schools of thought when you look at a big game like that coming up. It's like, are players playing for a place in the team, or are they just wanting to avoid injuries and suspensions?
Well, I mean, they've seen Chico last week, who unfortunately is injured and will now miss the big game of the season for Swansea. Swansea away games average the fewest goals out of any team in the Premier League. Very solid at the back. They've scored 12 in 12 away games, but they scored 5 at Loftus Road, so you take those out, and there's not many goals there. So it all points to a very similar game to the West Brom game, really. You can imagine Liverpool creating a lot, really piling forward, lots of chances, not scoring. Potentially you could see Swansea nicking it.
They did put their recent sort of goal-scoring problems behind them against QPR, but I'm not necessarily sure that that's now going to be the case here. No goal scorer for me. No
goal scorer, which is 13.7.
OK, we're going to look at the European games next. But for you to place your bets, remember to go to www.heavenbet.com. Do follow us and tweet us on Twitter at Best of the Bets. And you can watch this show back on our website, www.bestofthebets.com. Right, starting with the European games. And we're starting in France. We're starting with Bordeaux versus Lyon. Both teams lost their last match. 7th versus 2nd. What's going to happen?
Well, Bordeaux are 2.4 to win the game, draw 3.1, and Lyon 3.4. Both teams we saw in action on Thursday evening in the Europa League. Lyon be very familiar to English audiences after that game at White Hart Lane, while Bordeaux had a much more arduous trip to Kiev.
I did. Lyon's title challenge is falling away by the week. 2 straight defeats, Ajaccio and Lille, and they're now 6 points behind PSG. The defeat to Lille was only their second home defeat. The first one came against this week's opponents, Bordeaux. And they've really struggled at the back, especially centre-half lately. So this is going to be... it's going to be a tight game, I think. Both teams in Europa League action, as we've mentioned. They're going to look quite tired, I would have thought.
You've got the draw specialist in action here. Bordeaux with their 11 out of 24 this season that they've drawn, 6 out of 11. Although they're doing their best to shake off that tag. They haven't drawn in 5. But I mean, it's unusual to see a draw priced as short as 3.1, and it just generally there isn't an expectation that there'll be many goals in this one. And so the prices reflect that really. The
sale of Gouffran to Newcastle has left a gaping hole up front, and I think there's a real worry that the wins they've been scraping by, often by small margins, now may descend back into draws. So this is why I'm going to go low again. No goal scorer for me.
No goal scorer, 6.8. One school of thought that that's a very shrewd bet. The other school of thought would be that Sam's a bit scarred from his trip to Norwich last weekend to watch a terrible 0-0 draw.
It's 2 in a row, tips up.
Yeah, it is 2 in a row, but you can see a case for both of those.
We're going to move to Germany and we're looking at Hoffenheim versus Stuttgart. So 16th versus 14th, fight at the bottom of the table.
Well, very interested in Hoffenheim. They're 2.25 to win the game. The draw 3.3 and Stuttgart 3. But I mean, they're in the seasons. Yeah, it's been several incidents which have really had an impact. There was the terrible car crash for Cinic in September, and they've only actually won 2 league games since then. That must have had an effect. A truly horrible incident. They had the worst defensive record in Europe in terms of how many times they're conceding goals compared to the shots they're facing. So I'm thinking, well, who have they got in goal? You do a bit more digging. There was Tim Weiser was in goal up until very recently. He's been now replaced by Gomez, who will be very familiar to Tottenham fans. He's played the last couple of games.
Very badly.
And then a story coming out of the club this week that Tim Weiser has been fined an unspecified amount, having been thrown out of a carnival for an incident where he was dressed as a prisoner and got involved in a big argument. So
alleged.
It has been Carnival Week in Germany.
Well, yeah, it's all very dodgy goings on.
Who hasn't done that though at some point?
Well, an incident in a men's toilet. It's happened to the best of us. But I'm taking all that as a positive sign for Hoffenheim. It's not a bad time to be playing Stuttgart either, because they're a fair old comedy outfit as well at the moment.
Yeah, I think Hoffenheim are paying the price for some very bad investment in the summer. But Stuttgart, it's now 5 defeats in a row, and there's real pressure on Bruno Labbadia. This is a good chance for both teams to kind of get back on track. But I don't think neither of them can manage it. I'm looking at another draw, but unlike the previous two,
Any goals?
I've gone no goals, so I think there'll be plenty of goals in here, because some of Stuttgart's defending, especially last week in a 4-1 defeat to Werder Bremen, was absolutely atrocious. So I think that's where I'm looking. I'm looking at goals. I'm looking at a high-scoring draw, 2-2 for me.
2-2, which is priced at 12. I think that Hoffenheim can nick this, actually. I'll go with the home win, 2.25. And as a reminder,
That's what I was going to come on to, but go on.
The German efficiency promotion, which returns this weekend on HeavenBet. If you back a team to win in any of the 9 Bundesliga matches this weekend, if they lead at half-time but fail to go on and win the game, then you will get your stake refunded. Yeah, great offer, applies to all 9 games.
Okay. And the last game we're looking at, we're moving on to Italy, Serie A, Fiorentina versus Inter, 6th versus 4th.
Fiorentina 2.05, draw 3.4, and Inter 3.9.
The thing going in Fiorentina's favour this weekend is the fact that it'll be the first time for a long time that they'll have their midfield three back together again. That's Aquilani, Pizarro and Valero. They've been really key for them this season. But there's a school of thought that I think that teams have found out Vincenzo Montella's Fiorentina and sort of the very precise passing style they favour. Very strong in Florence. I think they've just lost 1 game there. So I'm going to go with Fiorentina to nick this.
Yeah, they've only won 1 in 2013, though, Fiorentina, and they're up against an Inter side that have only won 2 of their last 8. It seems to be quite a few games this week where we're looking at teams that haven't really been firing recently. I like the draw here, really, 3.4. I'll go with that as my prediction for this one.
Okay, best bet for Sunday, Sam.
No goal scorer at Bordeaux versus Lyon.
No goal scorer is priced at 6.8 for that game. I'm going to go for a similar price, actually. Swansea to win at Liverpool, 6.2. Hopefully we'll see another home defeat at Anfield.
I think so. And I'm going to go Manchester United to beat Reading 3-0.
3-0 is 7.8.
Okay. For you to place your bets on any of this weekend's action, head to our website, www.heavenbet.com. You can follow us on Twitter. We'll look forward to receiving your tweets at Best of the Bets. And to watch this show back, head to our website, www.bestofthebets.com. Massive thank you to Sam and to Gareth, and good luck with the new arrival. Hopefully before the show, so we've got you back next week as well.
Hopefully won't interfere with my football watching over the weekend.
We'll see you same time, same place next week. See you then. Bye-bye.